So welcome everyone to another episode of Around the Block Talk. Today we have with us Mr. G John Okoro. He's the founder and director at Auspicious Agile and Blockchain. He's an industry veteran and a subject matter on the topic of blockchain. So very happy to have you here with us, John, and I'll let you proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, prateek. Appreciate it. So today we're going to have a talk about blockchain for financial inclusion. I want to give us apology in advance that I did bring in content from several talks that I've done, so you'll probably see a little bit of difference in format, but I think it'll be very informative for everybody. So let's get into it here, and let's pop across to our next one. Of course, none of this is financial investment advice, so please talk to an investment advisor if you are looking to do investments. All right, so our introduction here. Here is my background. Make sure that's looking okay for everybody. Good. Okay, and you can see that I am, as Pete mentioned, the director of Auspicious Agile and Blockchain. It's a Singapore-based company. We work on financial inclusion and using the blockchain for being able to support projects across Africa and the developing world and different markets. I've been in the space of blockchain now for around 5 years. I've been in technology for over 2 decades plus. I won't date myself exactly, but quite a while in the technology space. Authored books in the space, done a lot of things in digital transformation, work with a lot of large companies. Of course, being a Singapore-based company, work with National University of Singapore, the GIC, which is their government investment corporation, Disney, Accenture, Toyota, and lots of other companies as well. And seen a lot of things in that time, and also a lot of what we're doing in financial inclusion. We'll talk about some of what we're doing in some of our platforms right now, trying to make that available for people to be able to utilize and be benefiting from the blockchain. So my background there, I'm also, you can see, obviously trained as a lawyer in computer science and business administration. Don't hold being a lawyer against me. And I do speak Spanish and some basic Mandarin. So let's get into it here. We're going to go through the economics of blockchain tech, the blockchain application and use cases, financial inclusion, and then we'll talk about potential for African developing markets. We'll take, after that, a little look at financial inclusion all around the world, and we'll go to QA and closing at the end, and hopefully we'll keep that under an hour. I'm going to try not to talk too fast because I do talk fast. I know that, so I will probably try to slow it down just a little bit. Okay, so the economics of blockchain tech. You guys can see here, I'm going to move my little screen thing over to the side, that basically there are a lot of parallels to the dot-com boom and what's happening now. All right. In the dot-com boom, you had a number of projects. I mean, there's almost 20,000 if you look at coin market cap, different blockchains and tokens and things like that out there, right? Many initial projects and companies failed, and one of the the biggest high-profile things that just happened was Terra Luna just had a crash, right? And that's very unfortunate because a lot of people lost money on that. But this is very similar to the early days of dot-com boom, where a lot of companies disappeared, right? But you also got Google, Amazon, Facebook, and all those big companies out of that as well. Some of the most valuable companies in the world. There are some differences though, right? The dot-com boom was centered only in the US Silicon Valley. So I was, in California at the time that was happening. And, I was in Southern California, even that, we had some of it, but it was really Silicon Valley, Northern California area, right? Blockchain and cryptocurrencies are global, right? So it's not just Silicon Valley. It's not just California. It's not just the US, it's global. You got people coming in South Africa and East Asia and Korea and you name it, everywhere around the world, right? India, all over the world, you have people who are getting involved in this and who are benefiting, which is great. The dot-com investments primarily venture capitalists only and accredited investors. Blockchain, obviously you can see this one a little bit ago. ICOs, you don't see them as much anymore, but anyone can participate in blockchain projects, right? So, and that's something that's really important. The openness, the freeness of it is something that really benefits everybody. And I want to highlight that, where what happens is that, in the dot-com boom, only a few people really were able to get the benefit of that. And really get, so you got your Mark Zuckerbergs, your Bill Gates, et cetera, right? Your Jeff Bezos types. And cryptocurrency, you can see the market size here, right? This is kind of the top 10 currently. I think we're sitting around 30,000 the last time I was checking. There are, of course, many more blockchains and tokens. We said nearly 20,000. If you take a look at CoinMarketCap, you'll see, of course, these are the top 10 projects. And even though we have had some correlation with the stock market and some downward movement in the last several weeks, generally speaking, not doing too badly in light of all that. And where we're going, right? So very likely we're going to see the next top projects in the world in this space. Obviously, Bitcoin, you have Ethereum, several other things like Binance and Binance Coin. Coinbase actually just became one of the first cryptocurrency based company to enter the Fortune 500, right? So already things like that are happening. In addition to that, it's likely blockchain and cryptocurrencies are going to become the money of the internet, money 2.0, right? Or finance 2.0. We got decentralized finance. We'll talk about it a little bit. This is an Economist cover from some time ago. They talked about what was going to happen, what was going to be the currency of the world, right? So everybody's predicting the end of paper money. And now the scramble is to see, well, who's going to have that money and what form is it going to take, right? Big deal for the developed world, of course, right? If there's another great recession like we saw in 2008, which we know just happened with COVID, we had a pretty big hit to the global economy. We hope there's no more, although a lot of pundits are saying things are going to happen, but we hope positively that it doesn't get so bad, right? But there's a good chance that cryptocurrency may become the dominant world currency. You're going to see Bitcoin, Ethereum, you're going to see things like Litecoin, central bank digital currencies that are not open, like Chinese digital Yuan would be an example of one of those, right? And you're going to see a lot of those kind of jostling for position in the global market as where we're going to go. Currently, regulation is a challenge, and right, it's not clearly understood all around the world because a lot of regulators really don't know what to do with this, right? They're not sure, that they're shocked, frankly, that it's taken up so much uptake, and now they're figuring out, what do we do? How do we regulate this? What do we need to do, right? So every country is having their own discussions, and different blocks of countries as well, like the EU, I think, currently. With COVID, the move to digital assets and cryptocurrency accelerated, right? So we know that once COVID hit, all of a sudden, the whole world, stuck at home, have to do online transactions, have to do digital transactions. People who never thought about really doing things digitally before, all of a sudden it's all digital, right? So COVID really accelerated this. Maybe some of that was, intentional, maybe some of that was just accidental, but either way, it's accelerated. And as we continue there, so many markets already view blockchain as the stock market 2.0. I would say finance 2.0 as well. And you're going to see a lot of companies like JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs and New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ and Bank of America, you name it. All of these organizations are in the space. Some are doing it quietly and some are doing it with a little more announcements now. But the bottom line is they're all in, right? All these larger organizations are doing this. So this is in the developed kind of world, if you will, right? So kind of, stock Walmart, Wall Street and, London Stock Exchange and all of the markets that we know on that side. In addition, banks in the US have now been authorized at the moment to custody or meaning hold crypto assets. And a lot of them are starting to do that, not only in America, but around the world, Latin America, you name it. A lot of organizations are doing it in Switzerland, I think Lugano, different places. All over the world, we're seeing this happen. Okay, and you can see here that we have the digital Yuan and digital dollar, which is not yet here, but I'm sure they're working on it, right? There are a lot of stable coins that actually do kind of perform that function as digital dollar, right? So you have like USDC, things like that. We'll look at those a little bit later. But that's just really going to be a competition for what is the world's money, right? That's out there. And of course, Bitcoin is always out there, right? So Bitcoin's there. People say all kinds of different things, but Bitcoin is definitely there and definitely growing. And we can see over here the rise of Bitcoin, right? Historic and today. So I was looking at the charts last night, and if you look over the 2 years from the beginning of the pandemic, Bitcoin is up over 300%, right? So people say, oh, has it, it's been such a bad time, tough time. It has been, that's true. But even that, if you would have had Bitcoin from that time to now, it was around 9,000 back then, it's up over 300%. Okay, so that's just to give you some perspective. If we look historically, I think Bitcoin Pizza Day was a few days ago, actually, May 22nd. And that was when somebody spent 10,000 Bitcoins to get a pizza. That's like the first Bitcoin transaction for a real world, something in the real world. Obviously, today that would be one expensive pizza, I think, whatever, 3 million, something on that around there. However, it had to happen to get kind of the transactions happening and working on the Bitcoin network. So just giving you some historic versus today. That means that those Bitcoins back then were not even worth a penny, right? Today, $30,000, even after what we've seen in the financial markets. So let's keep that in mind as we go forward here. Okay, and you can see that trend, upwards trend, which has been fairly consistent, even with what we're seeing now in the market. And of course, we can see everybody jumping on board. There's Jamie Dimon, famous from JP Morgan, who hates it and loves it usually. New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, there's Elon Musk and Visa and PayPal, Goldman Sachs, you name it. So all of these different organizations are getting on board. Many of them are trying to position themselves to, have some kind of a controlling position, just like, a lot of established organizations have a controlling position in the traditional stock market, right? Obviously, it's not as easy for them to do that with Bitcoin because Bitcoin is open and anybody can access it, which is why it's really important for financial inclusion. But we'll talk about that a little bit later. Okay, so what else is happening? Why has Bitcoin been rising? As we said, up over 300% over the last 2 years since the beginning of the pandemic, right? Anyone, anywhere can transfer wealth. They can store wealth. You can do it from Africa. You can do it from Southeast Asia. You can do it in South Asia. You can do it in Sri Lanka. It doesn't matter where you are. Okay, there's a limited supply. Once the supply is minted, there will not be any more. So there's scarcity. I mean, it's like gold, but probably there's even less supply than gold, actually. Right? There's no intermediaries between the people and their Bitcoin, because basically you go and you can go directly, even though some companies like PayPal say, hey, use our platform, or Robinhood or something. But the bottom line is you can go get it yourself, go to any and put it in your wallet, and you don't have to ask anybody, right? Which is great, again, financial inclusion. Bitcoin is stateless, meaning it's not owned by any one country or company. So anybody, any company, we'll see you later on, like Republic have adopted it. I think Panama others are talking about that now. So anybody can use it, right? And of course, Bitcoin is decentralized and trustless, meaning that you don't have to go and say, oh, only this trusted person can send the transaction. Anybody can send it. As long as it's mined and the network recognizes it, you're good. Transaction gets sent. Okay, so we can see here different institutions that are jumping on board. DBS, which is Singapore Bank, or our company's a Singapore organization. They are now using having an exchange available. You see the OCC in the US, and we can see different ETFs have been all around the world. And so you're seeing all kinds of financial products. If you keep up with this, I mean, it's almost unbelievable how many organizations have gotten into Bitcoin over the last several years, right? I would say back in 2017 was more retail, which was like regular people jumping in. This time around, kind of like 2020, 2021, 2022, this has really been institutions. And they may not be announcing it to you, but they are absolutely jumping in, right? They are absolutely, coming in fully with Bitcoin, with cryptocurrencies. Now, there's a couple of charts for us to consider. This top one is the stock to flow. It had been accurate up until last year, actually, for like the last 10 years. I think there might be some potential market manipulation that took place in the previous year, but I can't be sure about that. But what this is showing us is that every one of the Bitcoin halvings, which is a 4-year cycle, that the price has been going up, 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 up. And the expectation is that basically in this next cycle, going up until 2024, we should see $100,000 Bitcoin. Okay, obviously that is not over at this point. We're still on track that could happen. We're around 30,000 right now, which is we're in 2022 about here. However, what we are going to see is that we'll see if this plays out, right? So if this is correct, it's telling us that by the time that we hit kind of the 2030 timeframe, we're going to be seeing $1 million Bitcoin most likely. Okay, the chart in the bottom right is showing us, and this aligns with the idea that so many institutions have been buying and investing in Bitcoin, and a lot of rich, high net worth individuals as well. Right now, you can see here the correlation with the stock market. This is the S&P 500, though I think the correlation is stronger with NASDAQ. NASDAQ is the technology stocks in the U.S., and you'll actually see the correlation has become very strong. Now, some people don't like that. Some people do, right? Obviously, Bitcoin, I can see why people think of Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana. Hey, these are like tech stocks, although they're not really stocks. I mean, Bitcoin is not a stock. Ethereum is not a stock. right? In fact, they're considered commodities in the US. Other places around the world have considered them that way as well. But you can see there's a strong correlation between the stock market and the pricing in the market for cryptocurrencies. Currently, we saw the down, and you also see the down happening a little bit in the cryptocurrency market as well. So strong correlation there. Okay, so let's go on and take a look at some use cases for financial inclusion, right? This is done a little bit ago with Charles Hoskinson, laying down plans for Cardano that he's doing in Africa. He did partners with Ethiopia, and laid out a roadmap around some countries that he was working with across the continent there. And as I've mentioned, our company does a lot of work with Africa, but also other developing markets as well. Okay, so Cardano kind of plan that you can see their pricing. They had really gone way up until this latest drop. Now they're slightly up from the, I mean, actually it's like 50 times from back at the beginning here, but slightly up from where they were historically. Okay, let's go on here. And we offer a course that also teaches about this called Blockchain Betty. So if you're new to it, feel free to check that out. And you can see that on our Auspicious Blockchain site. And I think right now we have a free enrollment window, so you can just jump in and take a look at that and learn about different lessons on how to use this. And we do this for Africa, for developing markets, for anybody in different Western markets or anywhere else that want to learn, so that people can actually get an understanding of how to use this and educate themselves. So you can check that out at auspiciousblockchain.com under Blockchain Betty. And we'll also cover things like decentralized finance. Did a recent video blog on this topic, which we'll talk about more shortly, which is the idea that anybody can access finance, not just only a few people in the West and maybe Japan, but anybody around the world can actually access finance. And that's a big deal. Okay, and then we'll talk a little bit about yield farming, proof of stake, some of those topics as well, which are also a little more detailed. I won't go in detail about these here, but this is how you can get higher returns as you invest and use different blockchains. Okay, so cryptocurrency, you got Bitcoin and others. Let's take a look at some different use cases out there, right? So you can see, of course, market cap had 1.5 trillion. I think we're at 1.225 trillion right now. And many different coins and tokens, right? Like Bitcoin, primarily a store of value. A lot of people are holding it. Not people aren't really using it to buy sandwiches, but they are using it to store their money, store their value, store their wealth for themselves and generations to come. And it's not that fast, but it can be sent to anyone, anywhere. With the Lightning Network, which is now put on top of it, you can actually send value to anyone, anywhere very quickly as well. Ethereum, which is basically the computing of the blockchain. It's like the blockchain computer for smart contracts, distributed applications, smart contracts. And this is the second highest market cap. It has been for a long time and is used for not only ICOs, but NFTs. It's used for a lot of decentralized finance, DeFi. It is one of the most popular tokens out there. All right. We have Ripple, which is currently in a lawsuit with the US SEC. It has been for years. It looks like they're winning, and we hope they do, because that's going to set a lot of precedent in the market, in the industry. It's used for cheaper, faster cross-border payments. The latest rumors we've heard is that they're actually, Swift Network has been trying to work with them. Now, we don't know how true that is or not, but it may make sense, seeing that it is a big competitor for Swift, which is the Western banking network. That's the one, for instance, we just had the sanctions that went against Russia, and the Swift network excluded, Russia. So that's a very prominent banking network. Okay. Cardano is the one we just talked about, Charles Hoskinson. They've been doing a lot of financial inclusion, smart contracts, a lot of projects across Africa and the developing world as well. And Monero is a privacy coin, which has actually been seeing a lot of gains recently. Monero is pretty much designed to be untraceable, and governments and law enforcement, of course, don't like this type of coin, but it's been going up in value a lot, because I think a lot of people are concerned about their privacy right now. So that is Monero. And then we have our central bank digital currencies, right? Some people may like these, some people may not, but these are things like China's digital yuan, right? The digital yuan, basically what it's doing is it is, allowing China full control over the digital money. Obviously, a lot of things going on in China right now. The US, the West, are looking at trying to have their central bank digital currencies. I think Nigeria launched an e-Naira in Africa. So these are basically centralized coins. They're basically the same thing as fiat money, really no different. They're not open coins. They're not backed by anything except for the goodwill of that government. So these are what we call central bank digital currencies. I'm sure we will see, even as the World Economic Forum meets now, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of these rolling out in the years to come. But that is the central bank digital currency side. Okay, and then we have our cross-border transfers. So Ripple, we talked about, which is kind of a really competitor with Swift network now. And then we have Stellar, which is more interested in some of the developing markets and more open ledger, more grassroots level. So it's more focused on kind of that financial inclusion market that we're talking about and interested in. And it was actually a split or a fort from us, from Ripple originally. Okay, and then we have our blockchains that do DeFi, provide decentralized finance. Okay, so our decentralized finance blockchains, things like Compound, you've probably heard of possibly Aave. These allow for really great returns, right? You can see returns as 10, 15, 20, 25, 50%, or even more. Now, obviously, the higher the return, the more risk. So be careful, right? There was the ecosystem that was around Terra Luna, and a lot of people were involved in that. I think they were getting really high returns, but obviously that did not work out. So be careful. However, DeFi is a really big space, and whether you're using Aave or Uniswap or any of these are ways that people are making some really great returns right now. And again, it's permissionless, meaning anybody can connect a wallet and anybody can use this. You don't need permission. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to do much registration. You just go and use it, which is, again, great for financial inclusion. Doesn't matter if you're in India. Doesn't matter if you're in China, if you can get through the firewall there. It doesn't matter if you're in Zimbabwe. It doesn't matter if you're in Ecuador, right? Anywhere you are, you can use this. The Caribbean. Okay. U.S. banks now have a green light to custody. So as we said, U.S. banks are providing these services. They are, I don't know how many people are going to use them to the bank, but definitely U.S. banks do have the right to custody. We talked about the same thing with Singapore and the bank there, DBS and others that are also able to custody and do this. The tokenization of real assets. So things like gold, Pax Gold, real estate, Manhattan real estate, different things. All of these can actually be tokenized now. Of course, there's art. NFTs are very famous, right? And this allows you to put on non-fungible tokens, unique tokens that represent ownership of a part of that asset. So this is a really good use case that is really gaining traction. If you've heard of NFTs, non-fungible tokens, that's what this is all about, right? That is representing your ownership in these things, and great space to be able to play there. And then, of course, we have our stable coins. We got USDT, Tether. There's been a lot of attack on Tether, but it's been holding up. There's USD coin, which I think is actually backed by Circle and Goldman Sachs. The Pax Standard, there's True USD, Binance USD, quite a few. Compound DAI is another one, right? These are all basically pegs to a dollar and usually are a $1 coin. In the future, I would guess that one of these may become a central bank digital currency used in the US, although we don't know for sure how it's going to play out, right? So there's a big battle around these because a lot of people find a lot of value in being able to keep that stable value. And then you can also earn some interest using these as well, sometimes up to 8, 10, 12%. And of course, as we just talked about, what just happened with the Terra Luna, what happened is lost its $1 peg. It was an algorithmic coin, meaning it was backed by an algorithm. That algorithm, it looks like it was either attacked or failed somehow, and that caused it to lose its peg. So now a lot of regulators are freaking out and saying that they need to regulate more. What the truth is behind that, we don't know, but there are a lot of stable coins that are doing just fine. So that is the Terra Luna, and we hope that the people who did lose money in that hope it goes okay for them as well. Okay, so let's take a look at potential for Africa and developing markets. Okay, so this is something coming out of Nigeria. This is last year. They tried to regulate or do kind of a ban around Bitcoin. So they're going to launch a central bank digital currency. What I think is funny, a little bit or interesting, and I'm Nigerian on my father's side, is that the second highest peer-to-peer usage for Bitcoin around the world is actually in Nigeria, right? So even though they put a ban, people recognize the value so much that it's still the second highest number of peer-to-peer transactions in the world is in Nigeria. So obviously, even though they put in this ban, it really was not able to stop those transactions because there was a desire for the ability to access finance, right? And of course, if you know about the Nigerian currency or other African currencies and other currencies around the world, they're losing value against the dollar and they're basically devaluing. So people are concerned about that. Okay, here's some other African cryptocurrency projects. So we have Odua Coin, which is a Pan-African cryptocurrency. There's A Coin, which is owned by the songwriter rapper Akon, and we have Cardano, which we talked about. We have Stellar. All of these are servicing the African market and other developing markets as well. Okay. So why is this a big deal for the developing world? Well, while much of the developed world has easy access to banks, credit, and finance, not true for the developing world, right? In the developing world, blockchain and crypto are basically an access to finance where you may not have any access at all. Countries like Zimbabwe, you're gonna get people who are using Bitcoin to deal with the weak currency. Central African Republic has now adopted it as a legal tender in their country. And blockchain is transparent, also El Salvador. And blockchain's transparency also eliminates a lot of issues for potential corruption because it's an open ledger, right? Anybody can see the transactions. You can say, oh, I sent money here and there, but anybody can check and go, oh, that money didn't really go where you said it did, right? So we can verify and see exactly where the money went or didn't go. So that is, or the value went, right? So that's excellent. That might do a lot to reduce corruption in all these different markets. Okay, I think I will play this. Let's see how it does. Let me know if you guys are able to hear okay. Can people hear that?
It's audible.
As you may have guessed, we're not in Silicon Valley anymore. This is Kailisha, one of the biggest and poorest townships in South Africa.
What are you cooking?
I'm cooking the Afghan meat. Very nice.
Very nice. And whether you're into crypto to make money or to save the world, emerging markets like this might be the place to be.
My view is that this is where the blockchain should start. In the US or in sophisticated countries, the way I see blockchain is the blockchain is kind of like a fun thing. It's a movement against centralization, and it's a fun technology game that everybody's playing, but it's not a necessity. You certainly don't need it. In Africa, you actually need it.
The biggest problem? It's nearly impossible here to get or send money.
Look around you. There's no infrastructure here. There's no ATM here. How do they get the money?
And if you think it's any better in the big cities, think again.
My name is Kudakwashe Ian Chingami.
Good question.
Yeah, Kudakwashe, yes.
For Ian.
For Ian.
Like so many others in Cape Town, our Uber driver Ian migrated from another part of the continent in search of work.
Cape Town is like New York of Africa.
Yeah. And everybody's got family back home.
Yeah.
And they send money back.
We're definitely sending back.
Ian included. He's got a mother and brother back in Zimbabwe, but sending them money, far easy. And you can't transfer money with the bank?
It takes days or weeks. And sometimes the bank doesn't have money. So it's a hassle.
More than a hassle. It could be the difference in life and death.
Like recently, I sent money to my mother. She was going to the hospital. So I wanted to send another person.
Unable to wait for a bank transfer, Ian used a money wiring service. It was immediate, yes. But the downside? Does it cost money?
10%.
To do that 10%?
Yeah, 10%. It's a lot.
Which brings us to a very interesting third option of sending money in Africa.
To the bus.
To the bus.
Yeah,
What does that mean? To find out, Ian took me to where it all goes down.
This is the bus stop that I was talking about. You approach the driver, then you talk to him. Are you able to assist me? Then the driver will say yes. And you wish good luck. The bus will arrive in Zimbabwe.
And then I hand him the money.
Yeah.
And that's the agreement.
That's the agreement,
It's
yes.
just a verbal
It's a verbal
agreement.
agreement, yes.
And you hope that he takes the money where you
Yes,
want it
yes,
to go.
that's true. That's true.
And from there, well, things get a little dicey. And if the bus gets a flat tire,
Sometimes the delay, bus
oh,
breaks
no, when
down.
the bus is gonna get
Oh no,
there.
yeah, bus can be robbed.
Robbed. Back in the car, I was still stunned.
Yeah.
It seems kind of crazy to go to a bus and hand over your hard-earned money
Yeah.
to him and say, please bring this to my family. I trust you.
Yeah.
It's just something that most people wouldn't do.
You just want to survive. I wish there was another option that is safe and cheap to send money.
All right, so you can see the use case in Africa, very different, right? We're not talking about, hey, it's a stock, we can go up in price by 50%, by 80%, we're gonna double our money. It's a question of, can I send money to my loved one, or can I have access to money at all? I have good examples of this, right? So I need to send funds from Nigeria, for my father. Unfortunately, had a health problem some years back, and it was almost impossible for me to do that from Western countries unless, basically, but if you use Bitcoin, it's like 10 minutes to do that. So this really is a life-saving and life-changing thing for people in markets that are not developed markets financially. Okay? How does Africa affect Africa and African diaspora? Opportunities for economic inclusion, including the connecting African diaspora, African continent, also other developing markets, of course. And we're based in our company. Many blockchain projects, businesses, and other opportunities, networking, creating a global community, and as we call it, a digital Wakanda. The Auspicious Blockchain Company, we have basically empowering the developing world through blockchain and cryptocurrency projects. We invest in Africa and growth markets using blockchain platform and infrastructure, and African diaspora and funding development. And we also make company investments to support the mission of building Africa, Asia, and the growth markets throughout the world, right? And we partner with ScanPay, which is a money moving platform that allows us to do crowdfunding, which is something that's rolling out shortly. You can see our mission here to facilitate the movement of funds to Africa, drive impactful investment growth opportunities, bring meaningful changes to the region, aim a better life for people, brighter, stronger Africa, and also Asia and developing markets as well. And we can see this is our African equity site that we just launched. You can check that out. I think that one's free of charge to enter right now. At least you can see the projects. So these are different entrepreneurs that are across the African continent that are running, like they're doing, textiles, or they're doing, some kind of an agriculture business or something else, and they would like people to basically invest and support their business. So you can find them on this site, which we call AB African Projects, or Auspicious Blockchain AfricanProjects.com. So you can check that out. Love for you to have you guys take a look at it and get in contact with us to learn a little bit more about the projects. We do not actually do the deals for you, but we do connect you with those entrepreneurs in Africa and across developing markets. And we would love for you to be able to, connect and be able to hopefully help them out and hopefully also profit as well. Financial inclusion around the world. Let's go to section 4. So you can see that this shows financial inclusion. Latin America, very low percentage of people who are able to access financial services, right? Africa, even lower. South Asia, Southeast Asia, quite low, right? So you can see basically the only places where you have a very high percentage of the population who are banked we call it, would be America, North America, and then Western Europe, right? Other than that, there's most of the world, I think if we look at the actual numbers, it ends up being someplace like around 2/3 of the world is either unbanked or underbanked. So for these people, Bitcoin and crypto and DeFi solve a problem that, is a really big problem for the majority of the world, right? When we look at it in perspective. Here's some around the globe here. In Global First, El Salvador adopts Bitcoin as a currency. So this happened last year. They were the first country to do this, and now they just had a conference like 14 other countries to also looking at considering adopting Bitcoin as their currency. What it does, it's a hedge. So even though the dollar has been losing value, we're not really sure about what other currencies are coming out. Some people say the Yuan, whatever it is. It's also a fiat currency though, right? Controlled by China. So Bitcoin gives these other markets another option where they can actually protect and allow for their people to have financial inclusion, even as we're in uncertain times and uncertain worlds. So El Salvador was the first, and they've been a big promoter. I think they're using volcanoes to do volcano-based electric mining, electricity for mining. So very good on their part. We also have the Central African Republic, right? They just adopted about a few weeks ago, about a month ago now, and they are now the second country in the world to have Bitcoin as legal tender. We hear talks from Panama, I believe, and some other countries as well. Anyway, it was as well. I don't want to get that wrong. So quite a number of countries. We expect to hear a lot more coming out. Obviously, this is different than the World Economic Forum, the International Monetary Fund, who are really more interested in the traditional system, and probably going to hear them not particularly keen, not particularly excited about this. But obviously, this is a really great, really big deal for the developing countries, for developing markets, because 2/3 of the world is not included financially. This is a great way for financial inclusion to happen. And we look in the US, right, because we only think of developing markets, but a lot of minorities in the US, African Americans, this group's called Black Build Crypto, and others, are also using blockchain to build economics, because there's been a lot of exclusion in Western markets as well, in the US, for instance. So we can see here that 44% of cryptocurrency buyers are Americans of color, compared to 35% of stock investors. 11% of the 1,000+ respondents identified as Black Americans. So we can see that almost half of the people in crypto in the US are people of color, which would be what we call, kind of African American, Latino American, maybe Asian American, people who may not necessarily have had access to finance fully previously, but this is a great opportunity because now you can see how many people are actually pursuing this. And we just have a few more details here. This is from one of our friends, Deidre McIntyre's presentation that she shared with us a little while ago when we were presenting to the African Union. So you can just see some of the statistics here about the inclusion of, Latinx and other groups in America, right? And so holding and speculating crypto to pay off debt, investing for wealth and for future generations, building custom financial solutions, and building businesses internally and internationally, which is something that I'm doing as well with our company and our teams. So few objectives of African Americans in cryptocurrency. This allows really for a lot of financial inclusion. So it's not only for those around the developing markets, but it's also for many people of color and those who are not financially included in Western markets as well. Okay. I think I'm already through. That was really fast. I guess I talked a lot faster than I thought. So not sure what time we are right now, but let's go ahead. And what I want to do, these are the different ways you can contact. If you would like to contact, feel free to reach me on my LinkedIn. You can reach and check out our company pages on Auspicious Agile on Facebook, also Auspicious Blockchain, also on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. I have a channel there. Where you can see different video blogs, and we also do our Wakanda blockchain meetups for Africa and developing markets. So you can check that out at meetup.com, and also on Telegram. There is a chat. And Elizabeth, if you're there, if you want to put those in the chat, people can just grab those different links to talk. Also check out our website, auspiciousblockchain.com and auspiciousagile.com, and AB African Projects for the equity investments for African projects in the developing market. So what I want to do now, I'll leave this screen up for a minute, is open it up. If there's anybody who has questions, anybody who would like to ask a question, make a comment. I'm not sure how many people we actually have on with us here. So you guys can let me know, prateek, if you guys do open forum questions or anything else. But we've kind of come to, the coverage of the topic I wanted to go through today. So questions or comments or thoughts or anything else?
Yes, sure. John, thank you very much for the talk. It was rather insightful. And so also we got to witness some of the problems that probably we don't face in our everyday life and how DeFi can solve that. So as a company, so you're not targeting the most lucrative markets, right? So as a company, what challenges do you have in solving these problems for the emerging markets? And as a company, how do you make that happen?
Yeah, so you're right. These are not the most, well, I guess it's true. That's true and false, right? They're not the most lucrative markets today, right? So, I mean, obviously, if you're going to make investments in a market going to the US, probably you get much higher returns pretty quickly, right? However, longer term, what you're going to see is a lot of companies are now trying to invest in African developing markets because there's a lot of upside potential. I mean, it's like the cryptocurrency market, right? The cryptocurrency market is very volatile, right? So, you can make 300%, you can lose 300% very quickly. However, think about traditional stock market in the US, even though it's going down now, or it's been going down a little bit in the last weeks or so. In the US, you can make maybe 10, 15% a year in the stock market as a regular traditional investor, where that's not 300%, that's 15%. So we would see that longer term, these markets are going to be much more lucrative actually than the traditional Western markets. Europe is not growing. In fact, it's contracting, I believe. America has been, obviously every people are calling we're the edge of recession. I hope and certainly pray we don't have a recession, but the market's not growing very quickly either, right? So now the opportunities really are in developing markets, in Africa and Latin America, South and Central, South Asia, Southeast Asia. These markets are the places that we're going to see growth. So you're right. I mean, we don't get immediate liquid, return on day one from investing, but we think in the longer term, we will see those returns. And even more important, this is something we really believe in, is that we believe that it's going to be really important for more than 2/3 of the world to get access to finance and be able to, send money to their sick parents or family members or save money, so that they can eat. And that's really important. So we think that, you go, I guess like Google way back in the old days, do good, I think, or don't be evil, whatever they're saying used to be, right? So you want to do good, and we believe that the profits, the benefits will follow us as we do that.
Sure, that's great to know. So also you mentioned that you would like to bank the bankless. So what is the problem with the current system of our current financial and banking system, that they're not able to serve this population, and how does actually crypto and blockchain solve that?
Yeah, so the current system, we'll call it Finance 1.0, right? So that's the banking system, that's the SWIFT network, that's the Western financial system. It is, I would probably argue by design, it is made to not include a lot of people. If you're in Zimbabwe, you're in Nigeria, you're in Kenya, you're in many parts of India, you're in parts of Southeast Asia, Latin America, that banking system is not designed for you to be included in it, right? It is designed to be able to have companies that operate and are able to make wealth for Western countries. It is not designed for people in the Central African Republic or El Salvador to be able to get money to their families. So the problem, I think I would argue, is by design, right? I mean, we've just seen, with the Russia conflict is happening in Ukraine, Russia was obviously removed from the SWIFT banking network, and we won't argue one way or another about, the right and wrong of what's happening over there. But the point being that it is possible for anybody to be excluded from the current banking system. And that is something that has to give us all pause, because it means that if you're in a developing country and you need funds, you need to be able to, fund a business or start a factory, by design, it's unlikely that you're going to be able to do that, right? And so we would tell you that Finance 2.0, which is blockchain, which is DeFi, which is Bitcoin, this is by design open. It's an open, permissionless environment. And by design, it's open so that 2/3 or more of the world's population that are not banked or underbanked or unbanked, they have access. And now I think it's a question of education, because a lot of people don't know about this, right? Even though, they have a phone, they have access to internet or a cell phone, which is all you really need. But by design, Finance 2.0 is open and inclusive, where by design, Finance 1.0 is really restricted to a couple of wealthy markets, which is kind of basically Europe, the US, maybe, maybe Australia to some degree. Maybe you might include Japan in that now, right? So I think it's really the design of the system, if I were to respond to that question, because that is the problem.
Sure, certainly. And also very recently, we've seen quite an economic instability in South Asia as well. We saw Sri Lanka, their currency is completely devalued, and that's been the case in Africa as well, in some countries. Do you think the adoption is going to start from these places in particular, where their own system is weak, and how do you see that playing out?
Yeah, in our meetup group, we do have a member who's from Sri Lanka, and I believe he's been very aggressively pursuing using digital assets, cryptocurrencies for his market. I expect we'll see a lot more of this, because currencies, the entire world is very unstable now, right? And currencies are very unstable. I mean, the dollar is inflationary right now. It's losing value, but nowhere close to as quickly as, like you said, Sri Lanka or Zimbabwe or so many other dozens of countries around the world. So this has to be a good option in such uncertain times. And people say, oh, it's volatile. And they're true. They're right. It is volatile. Cryptocurrencies are volatile. Bitcoin is volatile, but it's accessible, it's available, and it's something that may save the finances of, millions, if not billions of people. So I do know people in the Sri Lanka market, and I know that they are actively pursuing crypto. They are pursuing blockchain as an option, an alternative. I need to actually check in with them and see how they're doing. Sanjay is one of our group members. But yes, I absolutely think that's going to drive more people in this direction, right? And you're going to have competing voices. Some are going to say, well, the World Economic Forum says don't use it. The World Economic Forum is, they're saying that, don't use that, use our system. But their system is the one that is currently, so unstable. And that's a problem, right? That's a problem for the 2/3 or more of the world that doesn't even have access to dollars or the financial system in the first place.
Right. And so, and do you think the solutions for these developing markets, they're going to come from developed markets, or they're going to be made in these developing markets itself?
Right. So I think that it's going to come from the people from those developing markets. I think a good example was the Odua Coin project. Let me see if I can scroll up here really quickly. All right, so we talked about, like, for instance, so Odua Coin project on the left there. Bright is, an African diaspora. His project team is an African diaspora team. I think they reside some in the US, some in other parts of the world. What you're probably going to see is you're going to see a lot of diaspora, whether from India or different parts of the world, that are going to start to use blockchain technologies to build solutions for their, for their area, for their region, whether it be for Africa, South Asia, Latin America, Southeast Asia. They are going to, which we are trying to do as well, they are going to build solutions. They may not necessarily be in that market right now, everybody, although we have team members who are in, Africa and Ghana and Nigeria and Kenya and around Africa. However, you are going to see a lot of diaspora, I think, building their own local solutions to the local problems, rather than looking, as it has been traditionally in Finance 1.0, just looking basically to the EU, looking to the US to build the solutions. Like I said, cryptocurrency and blockchain is global, right? So these are going to be global solutions that are locally developed, I believe, by diaspora and by people from local regions.
Sure. Thank you. So I'll also let the audience, if someone would have a question for the speaker, they can speak and ask.
Okay, so we got a few people on. Are there any other questions?
So I believe no other questions at this point. So with that, thank you very much, John. That was rather insightful to know particularly that the fact that people are paying 10% or even trusting their money with a complete stranger to be able to transfer it. And definitely crypto and blockchain does have some solution for them. And we certainly hope that this technology reaches them. And thank you very much for your time today and preparing the talk. Thank you.
Absolutely. Great. Appreciate being here, and hopefully look forward to seeing the recording link as well. We'd love to share that with our audience as well, so people can see the session. And thanks again.